Walk into almost any optician and look at the wall of frames. Ray-Ban, Oakley, Prada, Chanel, different names, different logos, wildly different prices. It looks like a competitive market. But the structure behind those frames is far simpler than it appears, because China will ship you a finished pair of prescription glasses for $8. The same pair costs $250 at the mall, and both of them can come out of the same factory. One company controls every step between those two prices, and the city taking that machine apart is one you have never heard of. But before that city, you have to understand the wall it is breaking, and the man who spent 60 years building it. Chapter 1. The Man Who Built the Wall. To understand how $8 and $250 ended up so far apart, we have to go back to 1935. Leonardo Del Vecchio was born in Milan. His father died before he was born. His mother could not feed all her children, so she placed him in an orphanage. No money, no connections, no family name. At 14, he worked for a tool and die maker, shaping metal by hand until 1,000 parts came out identical. In 1961, at 26, he opened a small workshop in Agordo in the Italian mountains. He made parts, hinges, temples, nose pads, but he had noticed what the industry missed. A few cents of metal sold for many times that, forever, because everyone needs glasses and nobody asks what they cost to make. So he climbed. Parts, then frames, then other people's brands. He called the company Luxottica, and he ran it like a man who grew up with no control and decided he would never feel that way again. Chapter 2. The Buying Spree. The next move was not building, it was swallowing. In 1990, Del Vecchio listed Luxottica on the New York Stock Exchange, because that is where the money was. Then he went shopping. In 1995, he took over the company that owned LensCrafters, a hostile takeover, just to get its retail chain. In 2001, he bought Sunglass Hut. Now he owned the shelves. And in 1999, he bought Ray-Ban for $640 million. At the time, Ray-Ban was a wreck. Flimsy frames, wayfarers selling for $19 in gas stations. Analysts thought he overpaid. He knew exactly what he was doing. He pulled Ray-Ban out of the gas stations overnight. He raised the price. He put it in Sunglass Hut, which he owned, and in LensCrafters, which he also owned. The lens did not change. The frame barely changed. The only thing that changed was who owned the brand and what they decided to charge. By 2014, Ray-Ban was pulling in over 2 billion euros a year. Chapter 3. The Ugliest Deal. And that difference, a bargain bin brand reborn as luxury, cost the industry more than anyone realized, because the next deal was not a rescue. It was a trap. In the early 2000s, Oakley was thriving, independent, loved by athletes, and it sold extremely well inside Sunglass Hut, the store Luxottica owned. Then Oakley fought back on pricing, so Luxottica pulled it off the Sunglass Hut shelves. Overnight, Oakley lost the biggest specialty sunglasses retailer on earth. Its stock dropped by a third, not because the products got worse, not because people stopped wanting them, because one company controlled the shelf and took them off it. Then Luxottica bought Oakley. In 2007, with the stock still hammered for around $2 billion. The moment the deal closed, Oakley went right back on the shelves. Prices went up, business resumed. That was not a deal, it was a message. Fight us on price, and we will take you off our shelves, watch you crater, and buy you for less than you were worth. Nobody challenged them again. Chapter 4. The Closed Loop. But the brands in the stores were only two walls of the box. There was a third. After Oakley, Luxottica added licensing deals with nearly every fashion house. Chanel, Prada, Versace, Armani, Burberry, Ralph Lauren, Tiffany. Each one works the same way. The fashion house lends its name. Luxottica designs the frame, builds it, ships it, and sells it in its own stores. The fashion house collects a royalty, and you pay $350 for a frame that came off the same line as an $80 pair 2 shelves below. The only difference is the name stamped on the arm. Then in 2018, Luxottica merged with Essilor, the largest lens maker in the world. Now one company controlled the frames, the lenses, the brands, and the stores. And there is the part the story always leaves out. They own IMED, the second largest vision insurer in the US. The company paying for your frame, the store selling it, and the factory that made it can all be the same entity. At no point in that journey are you in a competitive market. Every step was designed by the same company, which is why, for 60 years, the $8 pair should never have existed. But it does because of a city 2 hours from Shanghai. Chapter 5. The City Nobody Knows. By the time Leonardo Del Vecchio died in 2022 at 87, the orphan from Milan was one of the richest people in Italy. The machine kept running without him, 26 billion euros a year, and it would still be running untouchable and permanent, if not for that city in eastern China. Danyang is a small city in Jiangsu province, about 2 hours west of Shanghai by high-speed train, under 1 million people, surrounded by farmland and light industry. If someone showed it to you on a map, you would have no reason to look twice. But Danyang has a nickname, the glasses capital of the world, and once you hear the numbers, the nickname stops sounding like a boast. This one city produces more than 400 million spectacle lenses every year, roughly half of every lens made on the planet. It makes over 100 million frames on top of that, more than 1,600 eyewear companies packed into one place, over 50,000 workers. Say those numbers slowly. Half the lenses on Earth, from a city you could not find on a map an hour ago. Chapter 6. The Quality Lie. But here is where the system becomes interesting, because the quality is not what you would assume. The industry here started almost by accident. In the 1960s, educated young people who had worked in Shanghai lens factories were sent to the countryside during a period of upheaval. They arrived in Danyang with nothing but the technical skill in their hands. Small workshops appeared. People who knew how to grind glass taught their neighbors. By the 1980s, a whole cottage industry had formed around lenses. At first, the equipment was basic and the quality was all over the place. Cheap lenses, nothing more. But through the 1990s and 2000s, Danyang transformed. The local government built industrial parks. Manufacturers bought precision grinding gear that matched the factories in Germany and Japan. In 2014, a Danyang company built China's first domestic lens coating machine, breaking a foreign lock on the exact equipment that applies the anti-reflective and scratch-resistant coatings modern lenses need. So today, Danyang does not just make cheap lenses. It makes lenses with the same multi-layer coatings, the same blue light filtering, the same UV protection, and the same precision the expensive brands advertise as premium features. And here's the detail that ties the whole story together. Some of the factories making lenses for Chinese brands also make the lenses that end up inside frames sold under European and American names. Different box, different logo, same lens. The $250 Ray-Ban and the $8 online pair can come out of the same city, maybe the same industrial park, possibly the same machine. The factory does not care whose logo goes on the frame. You are not paying the extra $200 for a better lens. You are paying it for a logo, and a monopoly that has been raising prices for 60 years because nobody made it stop. Chapter 7. The Crack. But one city making the lenses does not break the monopoly by itself. The monopoly lived in the distance between that factory and your face. So the last piece of the story is the companies that closed that distance and turned Danyang's lenses into the $8 pair on your doorstep. Zenni Optical understood this before almost anyone. Founded in 2003 on one idea that cut straight through 60 years of manufactured scarcity, buy lenses and frames directly from the Chinese factories, put them on a website, ship prescription glasses straight to the customer. No stores paying rent, no fashion house royalty, no Luxottica markup sitting in the middle. A pair of prescription glasses on Zenni starts at $6.95. Zenni has now sold more than 50 million pairs. Warby Parker came at it from the American side. The founder forgot his glasses on a trip. The optician quoted him around $700, and he stood there thinking about the fact that the smartphone in his pocket, a computer with a camera, a GPS, and a screen, had cost him less than 2 bent pieces of plastic and glass. So in 2010, he helped launch Warby Parker, selling prescription glasses online for $95. Warby Parker did not end the monopoly, but it proved the thing that matters. People will switch the moment somebody hands them a real alternative at a price that does not feel like robbery. Chapter 8. The Pattern. And the numbers are moving. A decade ago, a tiny sliver of prescription glasses in the US were bought online. Today, it is many times that, and higher still among younger buyers who never absorbed the belief that glasses have to be expensive. Every pair sold at $8 instead of $250 is a crack in the wall. Luxottica is not going bankrupt tomorrow. It still pulls in 26 billion euros a year. It is still the most powerful company in eyewear by a staggering margin. But this is the same pattern that plays out every time a monopoly meets the internet and cheap manufacturing at the same moment. The music industry thought piracy was a phase. The taxi companies thought ride-hailing was a gimmick. The bookstores thought Amazon was a novelty. The incumbent always believes the disruption stays in the margins. It never does. So go back to where we started. The two pairs of glasses. The one at the mall for $250 and the one from a Chinese factory for $8. You now know the frame costs a few dollars to make. You know one company owns the brand, the store, the lens, and maybe your insurance plan. And you know a city in China you had never heard of an hour ago makes half the lenses on Earth. You can buy the $250 pair anyway because they look good and you can afford it. That is a real choice, but it is finally a choice instead of the only option on the shelf. The answer to why glasses cost so much was never the glass. It was that one company decided they should, and until $8 glasses started showing up in the mail, nobody could make them stop. If you enjoy uncovering the hidden stories behind everyday industries, like and subscribe for more documentaries like this. And if you want to see the same logo game play out in the clothes on your back, watch our documentary on Ralph Lauren, the brand that doesn't sell clothes. It is on screen now that you know the $8 pair and the $250 pair can come from the same factory. Which one are you buying next? Does the logo still win? Tell us in the comments.